fraction, we actually have to take a step backwards.
What?
Okay? So we're going to go back to your Algebra 1 days, right about this time, because that's actually what they were just doing, and I think they were just doing it in geometry too again. Okay? And we're going to go back to something called completing the square.
What's that one?
Never heard of it.
You actually have. Okay? Completing the square is a way of solving or factoring where you create a perfect square trinomial. Okay?
What's
And
a
then we
trinomial?
use that to solve the problem. Okay? So there are four or five steps ish to go along with it. Okay? Okay? So the first step is you are going to space out your equation. So x squared minus 6x plus 11 equals 0. I am going to make that become x squared minus 6x equals negative 11. And I'm going to leave a space right here after the 6x term. Okay? I'm not just going to cram it all in. I'm going to actually leave a space there. With me so far? Step number 2 says I'm going to factor the variable side of the equation so the coefficient on the squared term is equal to 1. That's done in this case, but it might not be done in other cases. Okay? So I make sure that this right here is a 1. Okay? If not, I factor. You guys gotta let me know if I'm going too fast for you. Good? Okay. Then, in step 3, I find two things. Okay. So B is going to be my number right there. Okay. Coefficient on the non-squared variable. Okay. What I need to find is I need to find B divided by 2, and I need to find B divided by 2 squared. Okay. So my B here is negative 6. What would be B divided by 2? Negative 3. And that squared would be positive 9. We didn't have to do it because it was already coefficient of 1. Now, here's the kicker. The B over 2 quantity squared is going to fill in this space. But what have I done to my equation? unbalanced my equation, right? So what do I have to do? I got to balance it out again. So I've got to add 9 to the other side. So we've got to balance our equation. The left side of my equation, let me just rewrite this without anything else now. So then this would be x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals -2. Okay? So step 5 now is going to be left side factor. What does the left side factor to be? Oops, sorry, that should be a minus. Yep. X minus 3. Oops, wrong color. Quantity squared. Or, if you think about it this way, it becomes x minus b over 2 quantity squared. Actually, we'll say plus or minus here, depending upon which one it is.
Will that always be the case?
And that is equal to -2. Now, we want to solve the equation. How are you going to solve it? Exactly. When I square root both sides, what do I get on the left? Get x minus 3. What do I get on the right? What? Close. Plus or minus, because we're taking the square root. So we get plus or minus I squared to 2. Now I want to solve for x. So I get x equals 3 plus or minus I square root of 2.
Is that all we're doing today?
We're completing this word.
Yeah.
But we're solving for x. Yep. You're going to use it. Oh, well, I guess I gave you another solving by completing the squared one. Okay? Try it. So step 1 says I got to space it out, right? So this becomes 2x squared minus 16x equals -1. Does everybody agree with step number 1?
Yep.
Okay. Step number 2 says I need to factor out a 2. everybody agree with that? Yes? Okay. Okay. What's my B? What's my B? -8. What's my B over 2? -4. What's my B over 2 squared? So this gap right here gets filled with positive 16, correct? Okay. But now what? No.
Don't you multiply by 2 first and then add to the inside?
Because where's the 16? Inside the parentheses. What's controlling the parentheses? The 2 up front. So really, what am I adding to the left side? 32. So I've got to add 32 to the other side. Okay? So my left side becomes 2 times the quantity x minus 4 squared equals 31. First, I would divide both sides by 2. And that gives me x minus 4 quantity squared equals 31 halves. Then square root both sides. And that gives me left side x minus 4. Right side, what is the square root of 31 halves? Square root of 62 over 2. Trust me. Multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 2. Rationalize my denominator. Okay. Then what? So I get x here equals 8 plus or minus the square root of 62 all over 2. Hunter? With me? Yes? Okay. What do I got to do if I'm going to add fractions? Common denominator. So this is 8 over 2 plus and minus the square root of 62 over 2, which gives me 8 plus or minus the square root of 62.
Where did you get the 8? Where did you get 8?
What's 8 divided by 2?
Oh, okay.
If I'm adding 4, I got to have a common denominator. Okay? Okay? Now, let's put it to use here in conics. This is a conic. Okay? What type of conic is it? From yesterday. What type of conic is it?
Ellipse.
Why is it an ellipse?
Because you're adding the first two variables, and they both have.
I'm adding the. Say louder, Nathan. I'm adding the squared terms, and
Doesn't equal 0.
They both have different coefficients.
and they both have different coefficients. Okay? So I'm adding the two squared terms and the coefficients are different. So this is an ellipse. Well, you probably have one, so if it's a graphiconic, you would think that you need a piece of graph paper that you already have. Okay? So, here's how I would do this one. Okay?
Please show us.
First off, I would rewrite the problem. So I would go 4x squared minus 48x with a space plus y squared minus 14y with a space equals negative 189. Here, I would factor out a 4. Now, I'm going to do my b's. Okay? So here's my b. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. Squared is 36. So I'm going to be adding 36 there. But really, what am I adding? I'm adding 144. So on the other side, I've got to add 144. I don't want to take a 4x out of there. I could, but I don't want to. Okay? Then I redo that process here. What's my b now? Negative 14 divided by 2, negative 7 squared, 49. So I'm adding 49 there, which means
You had 49 to the other side.
I have to add 49 to the other side. So now I've got 4 times the quantity x minus 6 squared plus y minus 7 squared equals 4. 4. Does it look like the ellipse formula yet? What do you mean, get rid of the 4? Divide each term by 4. Okay. So if I'm going to divide by 4 there, because my ellipses were equal to 1, that means I got to divide this term by 4, and I got to divide this term by 4. So that gives me the quantity x minus 6 squared divided by 1. 4 divided by 4. Plus y minus 7 quantity squared divided by 4 equals 1. Now does it look like an ellipse? Okay, where's my center? 6, 7. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is my center. Left and right, I go 1. Up and down, I go 2. And there's my ellipse. Now, on Friday's quiz, you will have to do this process to get this equation, and then do everything from the ellipse chapter on an ellipse problem. So find the vertices, find the foci, find the center, find the length of the major axes, find the length of the minor axes, all that. Find A, find B, find C, all that stuff. Okay? Okay? But this one, it just said graph. Okay? Questions on that?
So on the test so we'll have to graph it from the equation that we find, right?
So you on the quiz on Friday, you're going to get an equation that looks like this.
And we're going to have to find the
You're going to have to graph it. Well, first you're going to have to classify what it is.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have to graph it. Then you're going to have to say, you know, if it's a parabola, you're going to have to tell me what the vertex is, what the foci is, what the directrix is, which way it opens.
If we get like this formula wrong, and so therefore obviously we're going to get everything else wrong, would you still give us partial credit if we get everything right according to the formula that we get?
Depends.
Okay.
Don't get the initial one wrong.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it, I was like, that means you get everything wrong.
Okay. Tonight you are just solving using completing the square. So that's why we went back 400 pages. No graphs tonight. Okay.
Tonight or tomorrow night? Class tomorrow.
When should you do your homework, Joseph?
Tonight, yeah.
That's a good plan.
But I'm just saying.
And there is a formative tomorrow. Okay?